the first DFS Army Woflpack NFL breakdown of the 2019 football season. This is week 1. We got the Woflpack together in full. You got me, the geek, on the line here, Kevin Allen. I got my man, Kyle Marley. Big Marley, what's up, my man?
Not much, man. Excited to talk football with you guys. It's been a long time, and I'm so excited for the season to start.
Holy shit, I can't believe it's here. And we got the Cash Keg himself.
Glad to be here, man. It's
right.
week 1. It's been a long time. Feels like we just did these a month ago. I don't know. Time flies, but we're back at it.
I kind of feel like it was just yesterday, and then I kind of also feel like it's been a while. So, I'm getting my sea legs back here, putting sheets together, thinking about, stacks and correlations, all kinds of good stuff. Have you guys had a chance to check out the new Domination Station stacking functionality, which will give us the extreme edge on the competition like nothing else ever in the past has ever done?
I watched your tutorial, but I haven't started building many lineups yet. I will be doing that tomorrow.
Nice. I have to say, even I haven't built real lineups yet with it. I've just been fucking around with the tutorials and whatnot. So tomorrow is also for me going to be my big sort of build day, where I'm going to put my mass multi-entry lineups together, and then I'll kind of reserve the later part of the day for doing cash games and some hybrids. Keg, how are you looking in terms of your entries? You going to focus on any particular sites this week?
I think we talked about a little bit earlier. I think with fantasy draft, with the rake free and how not top heavy that tournament is, I think I'm going to go after that and put 150 in that $20. I think it's 100K up top. So I think I'm going to do that one instead of give some rake money to DraftKings and FanDuel. I'll just play mainly cash games and maybe single entry and 3-mans on those, and then focus on tournaments on fantasy draft.
It's legit hard for me to want to put a lot of money into 15% rake contests.
It is.
Knowing that there's one out there that doesn't have it. It kind of feels like, why wouldn't I just do that one? How about you, Kyle? You like that rake free thing going on fantasy draft? You getting in there?
I mean, it sounds pretty dope. I like rake free, but I haven't even had time to go check it out yet, actually. Been so focused on DraftKings, pumped for just the main slate. And then the whole offseason, I've been doing those freaking best ball drafts. So that took so much time.
Did you put 150 in there, Kyle?
I did, yeah. It took like 2 months.
I was going to say, man, that took a long time. That's impressive.
I could not find the 45-minute quiet periods that I needed to do those fucking drafts. I don't know how you did it. I couldn't find that 45-minute block of time where I could just. I only did slow drafts, but it wasn't in that Millie Maker because they only had fast drafts for it.
I did a lot when I'd just go to bed, like when the wife did, and I would just watch TV and do it for like 2 hours before I passed out, something like that each night, and that would get me a good number in. And then with it spread out over time, like I was getting so much value early, like I was getting Tyreek in the 11th round or something, and then Josh Gordon and in the 17th round. Stuff like that. So I feel like next year I definitely want to start early again, go in June when people are scared to get players like that, because I think hopefully I'll benefit big from it.
Well, the Tyreek cheat code was awesome. I basically did a podcast with, and we talked about it, you and I, afterwards, but I did a pod with Cez about best ball strategies, and I was like, it was back in like May or June, and I was just like, just to be clear, I have Tyreek Hill on every single team I have drafted so far. It's like the people are stupid out there, and I'm going to take advantage of the reek. So I was getting reek. When you get a second rounder in best ball in round 7 or 8, it's such an advantage over the field. It's like you just leapfrogged everybody, and so I love that shit. It makes up for a lot of stuff. But let's talk about week 1. Enough about all this. Week 1. Yeah. Now, let me ask you this, Keg. Just before we actually get into the breakdown of the players themselves, like anything special in week 1? Should we, we don't really know what the fuck these teams are doing. We haven't seen these people play. There's a lot of speculation going on. Do you play a little lighter this week, just kind of not knowing what's up?
I don't. I kind of go the other way. because just what you mentioned, people are kind of scared of the unknown. They don't know what teams are going to do, but you play NFL long enough, and guys that are in situations that have the same offensive coordinators and the same situations that what they're going to do, take advantage of those, especially in cash games.
I think I would add to that, and Kyle, I want to get your take on it too. I would add to it, I might stay away from the speculative situations, the ones where people think something might happen, but we don't actually know. Like, just like yesterday with Aaron Jones, where it was like, well, he's going to be the workhorse now because they must do that. And he wasn't. It was the same guy we always saw. And there's going to be a few other situations we'll cover like that this week, where it's kind of like there's some speculation that a role will change, but haven't seen it, don't know. How about you, Kyle? You going the same volume as usual, or keeping a little light week one? Try to wait to see, kind of let things settle in.
I'm going pretty hard week one. More so with like 3-entry max, cash, single entry, stuff like that. I'm going to go with that 150 3-entry max. I'm going to do that. I'm going to chase those $100 King of the Beaches because I got to get to that beach this year. And then I'm going to do a whole lot of cash because I feel real good about my cash lineup so far. So that's what I'm really focusing on. And then I'll do 20 lineups with the optimizer, and let the domination station take me to victory on like the $3 20-entry max, then the 20-entry max King of the Beach type of things, and then possibly throw those 20 into the Millie Maker. So those will be my contrarian lineups, and then my 3-entry max. I've been focusing on those all week.
Nice. And the big kind of research piece that we did over the off season, and the big, there was a lot of we actually have the Millie Maker dossier now live on the DFSArmy.com website under the Shark Autopsy tab under General Strategy. But Bernsey does those Millie Maker autopsies, and went through all these different sort of how did each lineup look, and one of the big discoveries I think was more stacking than we ever thought was really necessary for NFL. Like, the basic stack is just letting everybody QB WR1, but attacking those big contests, we've discovered you really need much more correlation in your lineup than that. So game stacks and even secondary stacks are going to be super key. And I'm excited that the domination station it's so easy to do it. It almost like forces you to do it because you're like, fuck, how am I not good? It's so easy and it makes so much sense now that I'm definitely going to do this. So anyway, a lot of leap forwards, and I hope to see lots of DFS Army people taking down tournaments this year. But let's get started on the slate. All right, so let's start at the top with the quarterback position. And Keg, I'll start with you. I'm looking at your sheet here. You've got a few guys here labeled all. So which is your pick for kind of your most comfortable one or two? And I think there'll be some overlap here. I'm seeing a lot of that. But who are your one or two most comfortable cash game / high dollar, small tournament type quarterback plays for week one?
I think for cash, might be on both sides, but more so on DraftKings is probably going to be Carson Wentz. Just in that situation, and you don't have to pair him with anybody because he's got a bunch of weapons around him. And he's priced to a point where he's got a pretty stinking high floor. And they should put a hurting on Washington, and I think he's going to, at least have 2 touchdowns with upside to 3 or 4. So I really like him for cash games on DraftKings. He's going to be pretty popular, but Jameis Winston's the other guy that's going to be, I think, they're pretty popular. And I think on the FanDuel side, you'll see more people going over there because he's cheaper than Wentz. I think that's where your chalk's going to be at on the cash side. And I don't know if I'll eat the Winston chalk just because of how he plays, but Arians is the QB whisperer, and he likes to take chances deep, and he should put up some fantasy points.
Interestingly, if you look at the salaries between the two sites, Wentz and Cousins and Winston are all pretty much the same price on FanDuel. Mm-hmm. But on DraftKings, you got to pay up $1,000 more for Jameis Winston. So my sensibility is generally going to be to clip the coupon there and just play him on FanDuel where he's the same price as these other guys. And then just fuck it on DraftKings. And that ends up giving you some hedge anyway. And you can move over to Carson Wentz there who is cheaper anyway and in a really good spot. In a really good spot. I personally also like Kirk Cousins as a play here. I just like quarterbacks facing Atlanta. I like it because Atlanta can score also, so that's helpful. How about you, Kyle? How are you looking right now for sort of cash games at the quarterback position?
Yeah, I agree with Cake. I like Wentz a lot for cash, and then mostly because you can roll him out there naked. He's got a floor with his rushing as well. They should just go out there and dominate. But I don't know what his ceiling is like in this matchup, and they might just be running the ball late. So I think I'll just avoid the chalk in GPPs. Just throw them into my cash lineup, get my investment there. But I don't really want to stack them with anybody other than maybe Ertz. So that's what I would do. It'd be either naked or Ertz. And I love rolling out the naked quarterbacks in cash because then I don't feel forced to put my cash lineup into GPPs because I don't feel like I'm going to take down a GPP with a naked quarterback. So I'm cool with just keeping those cash only.
Yeah, I don't mind that approach at all. Like I said, Wentz at his salary, he projects. There's this thought that home quarterback against a terrible team like with a heavy favorite against a terrible team like Washington that can't produce any offense, they're not going to be forced to throw late, and they're just going to lean on the run late in the game, or they'll just kind of sit on the clock, kick a couple field goals, play some defense, and kind of cruise to a victory. Although there's some evidence that while we definitely know that happens, there's definitely some evidence as well that sometimes quarterbacks, even in non-competitive games, just when they're heavy favorites, actually do wind up smashing. We've seen that quite a bit. But yeah, there's really no reason in this kind of game for Wentz to really hit any sort of ceiling, because why would he need to? But then again, this Eagles team doesn't really have like a lot of established running backs, so it's going to be interesting to see how that goes down. All right, so let's talk about some tournament stacks potentially here. We'll talk a little bit of ownership at the quarterback position, but all right, so we already talked about the some of the standard guys, but I'll throw out tournament stacks. So Kyle, do you have any quarterbacks you want to build some game stacks around this week? I mean, we have 3 games that are projected for over 50 points.
Yeah, my favorite game. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we know which ones they are, but the Bucks game is one of them. You've got the Rams at Carolina as another one, and Kansas City Jacksonville, which I think is the sketchiest one in my mind to go over 50, and probably maybe the lowest owned. I don't know. So give me your take on that. I mean, like any of those 3 games, stackable situations for you, or any others that for game stacks that you've thought about?
Yeah, I'm all about that Tampa Bay game, and I'm cool with doing 5-man stacks multiple ways with that game. I like Winston a lot. I think he's going to be one of the chalkiest quarterbacks, though, this week, and a lot of people are going to be stacking up this game, but a lot of people don't do 5-man, so that alone makes it contrarian, and if it does go off, 40 to 43, a 5-man's going to take down a tournament. So I'm totally cool with like a Winston, 2 Evans, and Godwin or Howard. But I think Godwin's going to be one of the most owned wide receivers. So I do like the pivot over to Evans, and I've been liking him more than Godwin the last couple of days. So for me, it's like I'd rather just eat the chalk in cash, and I'll take Godwin in my cash, give me Evans in the GPPs, and then we can run it back with Kittle. You could throw Goodwin out there if you want. Maybe he can get a long touchdown. I like both running backs as well, Coleman more so. And then you can throw Garoppolo too.
Yeah, I've got some issues with the running back position for San Francisco, and I definitely have some issues with the running back position from Tampa, which is kind of why I like all of this stacking going on around those 2 quarterbacks. How about you, Keg? You on that game?
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be the most popular stack, but you got to have a piece of it. Just about everything that Marley said about it. So I have quite a bit of that one. And but you were talking about with the KC Jacksonville game. I mean, KC's going to be highly owned, but I don't think the Jacksonville side will be as much. No one wants to play Foles, with Westbrook. Fournette, I think, will be under-owned to a point. But
right now, Fournette's projecting like 6%.
Yeah, which is crazy. with Yeldon out of town, and there's really nobody. The only guy they got behind him is was it Armstrong, the rookie they took in the 5th round. So there's really nobody.
I don't understand that. I mean, unless the ownership projection is really, really wrong. Like I have Fournette listed as a core. I mean, as a core
me too.
Top play. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, at that price, it's just.
I
you
remember
have
David Johnson
of all of his injuries and stuff, but you can't think about that. You just. I think he's going to get more catches out of backfield but the passing side of it, with Westbrook and Foles, I think I like some stacks there with coming back with the playmakers on Casey.
Yeah, I agree there. So, all right. So we've got a set. Now I'm going to, for my stack of the week, since we're going through them, the one I really like is, Vikings, Falcons, slightly under the radar, 47-point total. So, it's away from this Rams. The obvious other one is Rams Carolina. So, to be clear, that's the third obvious game, Rams Carolina, and we could talk about that. But the under the radar one that I'm looking at here is definitely for me Minnesota Atlanta, because I just like the tightness of these two offenses, especially on the Minnesota side. Minnesota's really just Thielen, Diggs, and Dalvin Cook. Like, that's it. There's no one else there. There's no one really else of note. I guess that Kyle Rudolph is there doing his thing, but he hasn't been heavy. He could be involved, but he hasn't been heavily involved. I'll get a little share of him too, though. And then Kyle, we got your boy Julio taking on Xavier Rose.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I like this game, and it could go overlooked. But I don't like this one as much, for like the 5-man game stacks. I like this more for those mini stacks inside of your game stacks where I'm throwing in Cook and Julio or Ridley and Cook or something like that. Even if you want to be contrarian and go Freeman, Thielen, something like that. I like you were talking earlier, those multiple stacked lineups. I love to look for those, and this is a game I feel like I'm going to do that with a lot.
This game, especially the Minnesota side, came up a lot for me when I had secondary stacks checked off. A lot of it's just because Dalvin Cook is so well projected that basically he shows up in every single lineup that you ever make. So when it's trying to find a secondary stack, it's like, Thielen, boom, done. So it's like Cook, Thielen, just or Cook, Diggs just keeps showing up everywhere because that game, just mostly because Dalvin's just in the lineup already, just based on his projection being so much more impressive. And I guess let's talk about this last game that I think is game stackable, and that's the Rams at the Panthers. So this is a really interesting game. Actually, I want to spend a minute on it. Jared Goff on the road. We don't know what the story is with Todd Gurley right now. It's really mysterious. We don't know. But it's a very high total. He's got all three of his wide receiver weapons at his disposal. And then supposedly a healthy Cam Newton on the other side, Christian McCaffrey, super chalk sort of names in Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore. So, Keg, how do I get some uniqueness out of stacking up this game? And are you concerned, for example, that chalk Curtis Samuel and less chalky DJ Moore will kind of run into this super elite cornerback tandem that the Rams have, highlighted by Aqib Talib? You got Marcus Peters over there, a really elite group.
Yeah, I think Samuel's an easy cash play, but if his ownership's going to be on a slate this large, if it starts creeping up to 30% or something, I have no problem going a little lower on it. Especially a wide receiver, man, with being in such a volatile position. I don't like to see guys like that to be so chalky. So I have no problem fading him in tournaments, but in cash, he's just so cheap.
I like this idea of making it a policy, just a regular policy in how you approach the game, that if you see some fucking turd wide receiver popping for 20+% in tournaments, looks like he's in a great, I don't care. He had 10 targets last week. I don't care. as a tournament rule of thumb, it's probably best to say I just don't play guys like that. They will go off on occasion.
Sure.
They will have a good game. You're going to have times when you do it and you feel the FOMO pain of somebody then doing well. But if you make it your philosophy that I just never play guys who are like going to be, mediocre players, but are going to be over 15, 20% owned by the projections. And then, in tournaments, maybe that's a good approach. Kyle, what do you think of that, man? Just like making to take away the FOMO from your brain, right? To take away the sort of regret where you're like, oh, fuck, I try, the one time it doesn't work and then you never want to do it again because you're like, see, I try to get cute and I faded Curtis Samuel. Everybody was on him and then he had a good game. And now I'm never doing that shit again. And of course, the next 5 times it burns you, but that one time you remember it. What do you think about that? Training the mind.
Yeah, I'm not against it at all. If anybody's going to be 4K and chalk, I'm totally okay with getting away with that in GPPs. But I do want to use it as like a blocker in my cash games. So I still have an investment to it. But yeah, I'd rather just go to a DJ Moore, who I think is now going to be overlooked with all this Samuel hype. People aren't going to be fading C-Mac either. So I think Moore will be the third highest owned of those 3. And this is another one where I like 5-man game stacks in this game. And I just finished my 1 p.m. only notes. I feel like I might get away from this game a little bit, make it more of a mini stack in the main slate. But I'm loading up on this with 4-man and 5-mans in my 1 p.m. games because it's definitely the best game on that slate because we don't have to worry about Winston over there.
Like I said, the only other real excitement going on at the 1 p.m. Well, you have KC Jacksonville. There's some good games at 1. KC Jacksonville is there too, and that Minnesota game. But yes, this one definitely projects the best out of all of them, no question. And that's about it for the I guess the quarterback position. And any other team stacks that you're looking at for this slate that you're excited to employ here in your tournament entries, Keg?
I think I like Seattle a little bit. I think Carson's going to be kind of popular, but I think Lockett's not going to be as high owned as he should. So I kind of like I don't even mind stacking all 3 of them. I think they're going to beat up on Cincinnati pretty good. And like Kyle was talking a little bit about, with Tampa Bay, with Godwin being, the chalky guy and going to Evans. Again, I wrote up this guy in my wide receiver pool. Where's he at? Willis. If Boyd's going to be chalky as well because he's going to get all his targets with Green out, I don't mind taking chances on these real cheap wide receivers that could get some looks. They'd be playing behind. It's not a smash spot at all, but if you need a 3K guy, I don't mind taking chances on guys like that.
Wait, who was the 3K guy?
Willis.
Now I got to go to your notes because I don't even know what the fuck that is. That's the number 2 wide receiver for Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw something about that. Hang on. Miles Willis, Damian Willis.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck it, man. That's diving deep. You should have written YOLO next to that one. That's the YOLO. That's the YOLO spot.
He's got a 1 star, man. But I'm just saying, like if you're looking for guys that are 3K guys that are, they'll be playing from behind, and if
I love the ownership projection of 0.3.
That's right, man. Here's your yellow.
That's how you win the tournament.
That's right.
Like
I like
Curtis Samuel and it's 17.68%, or do you want to go down to Damian Willis?
I would rather go up to Trey Quinn. I think he's my favorite out of that group there, but we can get there.
Yeah, Trey Quinn, the chef. I like him. I like him too. Cole Beasley. So yeah, a couple. So all right, let's jump into the wide receiver. Wide receiver is always the toughest for me.
Yeah.
It is by far the most volatile position in daily fantasy and football anyway. By far. The most difficult to predict week to week is the wide receiver position. It's why, as I look at your notes, Keg, I don't see a single player marked core.
No, it's hard to make a core.
Hard to get a core player at wide receiver.
It is.
Yeah, because how do you feel that confidence?
And that's why if you do a player pool, I always like to have a pretty short list of quarterbacks and running backs that you feel confident in. That way you can have a larger wide receiver list to filter through those guys that are way more volatile. And I think tight ends pretty short list for me this week. So, but wide receivers, just there's so many plays, and I'll very rarely have a core play at wide receiver.
I hear that. Now, Kyle, if you had to pick kind of your favorite cash game wide receivers, give me 3 or 4 of them that are sort of popping for you this week. And outside of Julio Jones.
Julio's my GPP guy, so I'm not even looking at him this week. I would say Godwin. Give me the chalk and cash, so like a Godwin. Samuel's fine. And then I like both guys from the Rams. Give me Woods. He's my favorite, I would say, from the Rams, but I'm cool with Kupp and cash as well. He's a little cheaper. Boyd's cool. Lockett, I've heard a lot of people on Lockett this week. I think it makes sense. I don't know if I trust it as much, but I'm cool with it.
Lockett is one of those guys. I mean, he was good last year, but he's one of those guys we're speculating. And I do think this speculation is correct, but we're speculating we'll see a lot more usage this year, but it's a speculation. The guy last season would get like 5 targets a game, but he would just do so much with them. But it's a speculation he'll take over all the Baldwin targets. I don't know if it'll happen, but we're speculating, you know what I mean?
And then D.D. Westbrook, I like a good bit this week. I would say Adam Thielen's got to be in there, especially if Diggs is going to be out. And that's really all I'd be looking at, I'd say, for my cash receivers.
Yeah, I keep finding myself, that group is so familiar. It's like, fuck, we're on the same people. I find myself a lot on Adam Thielen as well in cash, not just because Diggs may or may not, be out or hobbled or whatever, but I don't know, Thielen's just projecting a little bit better. A spot that I really love, and I'm liking more and more as if I knew this guy was fully healthy, I really love Cooper Kupp. He's more expensive. Like, I think Cooper Kupp is the best of the trio for the Rams, and yet he's cheaper than Cooks and Woods on DraftKings this week. And let's see on Fantasy Draft. Yeah, also cheaper significantly on Fantasy Draft. So significantly cheaper. I mean,
Kupp and Cooks both have some home road splits where they're a lot better at home, where Woods doesn't really have that. I feel like I could trust him anywhere. He can run more routes. I just like his overall game more. But also, yeah, like you're saying, I like Kupp because he's going to get those short targets, and he could maybe get 10 of those, catch 7 of them, and then you're already good for the day, even if he doesn't get a touchdown. So I'm totally cool with him in cash, but I would like the other 2 more for GPP, I think.
Yeah, it's really interesting, that dynamic between those 3. I'm always scared to use any Rams wide receivers in cash because I'm like, how could all 3 of these guys be cash playable? One of them's definitely not producing. And it feels like every time I'm on Woods, Cooks goes off, or Cooks Wood goes off. So it's really tough to predict. What do you do in those situations, Keg? You just avoid the whole shit in cash, or what?
No, I got a rule with those guys. It's just Cooks will never make my cash team because he's over the top. Woods and Kupp are the ones that are usually cash plays, but him coming off the ACL, I worry a little bit. So Woods would be the guy that I would focus on in cash just because he gets it over the middle and he seems to be safer floor.
Yeah, it's that ACL I'm a little nervous about myself. What are some of the players? So I'm on such a similar group. Let me jump over to my sheet real quick so I can remember. But I'm on a very similar group. I think my at wide receiver, I really don't have a lot of heavy leans, but yeah, it's the same names like Kupp and Godwin, a little Lockett, a little Boyd up top, and then coming down with like a Curtis Samuel, those type of guys, D.D. Westbrook a little bit, Dante Pettis too, but he's a little expensive for my taste. So more of a player I want to pair up with game stacks around Winston or Garoppolo. For the most part. So what are some tournament plays that you're excited to roll out this week? Keg, are you interested in Tyreek Hill in that matchup against Jalen Samuel, or maybe like an Amari Cooper taking on the Giants? Any of these expensive guys?
I mean, you always got to have some Hill, but I think on an ownership standpoint in that game, I'd rather get on Watkins, just at his price and ownership. And, we could see some things out of him this year. So I'm just looking at those guys in the single-digit ownership that you're trying to get on, like with Atlanta, instead of Jones, I'd go down to Ridley. Guys like that if they're going to be under 10% owned, I'd rather load up on them and try to get 2-3x the field. And hopefully they have a good day at a reasonable ownership that you can get your 4x to win a tournament.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Just low ownership tournament players. Kyle, any low ownership tournament players that you're excited to kind of hopefully take some shots on in GPPs this week?
Brown, I like a good bit as a pivot away from Curtis Samuel. Julio, I like, of course, a lot for GPPs. And then, those mini game stacks because I'm going to have a shit ton of Cook. So I like Julio running it back there. And then, that's where it's just going to be most of my wide receivers are going to be because of my stacks. It's just whoever I throw in at quarterback, I'm just going to be trying to stack it up, bring it back if I can. And my list is going to be so long because I'm just going to be running both sides of stacks. So I'm going to have all those Rams guys. I'm going to have, both the guys from Carolina, both guys from Tampa, and I'm just going to be mixing it in together, getting different combinations of my stacks.
That is absolutely the beauty of stacking around games and teams right there. We just talked about how difficult it really is. It's tough. I mean, if Keg isn't busting out some core plays, it's tough to have core players at wide receiver in the NFL, and it really is. They bust at a massive rate, like 70% or something like that. So the whole point of stacking is, hey, if I use 5 or 6 quarterbacks and run 5 or 6 game stacks, what you end up getting is such a nice array of pass catchers based around these various quarterback plays that eventually the hope is, your ownership in your distribution of lineups, be them 20 or 150 or however you're making, isn't so concentrated on just a few. Like, I don't want to have Curtis Samuel in 40% of my fucking lineups, man, because if that guy busts, the good chance he's going to bust. Like, who the hell is Curtis Samuel and what's he done? And he's going up against a very good secondary. So it's like, I don't know. Yeah, he could probably bust. I think he probably will bust. I don't know. So, yeah, I don't want to have the FOMO. I'll play him in cash. But, in tournaments, I'd rather have a mix. So you actually hit on some names that I really like as well. John Brown, we've seen him do it. Jets, 31st ranked pass defense last season, giving up a ton of points to opposing pass catchers. Jets are pretty good against running backs, but not very good against wide receivers. And who's to say, even in a shitty game, Josh Allen can't, toss a bomb to John Brown. It definitely could happen. I would say Zay Jones, even in a lower owned pivot off of that, although, I mean, the 2% ownership on Brown is low enough for me. Cooper Kupp will be very low owned. I like him for that reason as well. Robbie Anderson on the Jets. Robbie Anderson, he's broken slates before. That guy has 30-point upside.
I agree with
he's
that.
A guy that if you get him at the right slate at low ownership, it helps you win the million.
What is his price on DraftKings this week?
Anderson's very cheap, 5,200.
Yeah, that's
Buffalo.
Good.
Buffalo projects either good defense, blah blah blah. But this is a divisional game. You don't know what's going to happen. It could look like the Giants game or the Bears game from last night was a fucking shit show with 2 good defenses going at it, or it could be one of these high score. I don't know. I've seen them do both. Jets, Bills. I've seen both.
Yep.
Both things happen. I'm trying to think of who else, like maybe a Stephon Diggs, Amari Cooper. I don't think is going to be very high owned. Keg, you got any of these gems for me?
Man,
Marvin Jones Jr. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have Patterson's going to be out on suspension, so we got one less corner out of there that can go up against those Detroit boys and Jones and
I think 2 of their top 3 corners are actually out, so I don't mind either cornerback. Either wide receiver from that game, but yeah, it's hard to really want to target them heavily.
It is, and they just play slow too. So,
but I mean, there is an argument to be made for these guys.
there is
against
both of them.
Arizona.
Yeah,
You know?
both of them, and they'll be real low owned. I don't think no one's going to go there.
Yeah, I mean, no one wants to roster people from the fucking Lions.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, Marvin Jones Jr. He's broken slates too. This guy catches tutties like it's his job, like he was born to do it. Kenny Golladay, player on the rise. Team doesn't really have a tight end that's going to be featured, so it's just these two guys in the passing game. And I don't even understand how you could go through this game and not have Marvin Jones Jr. get about 5 or 6 catches. He's pretty cheap, and no one's talking about him. 2.5% ownership.
What do you think about the revenge game for Djax?
Oh, not into it. Not into it. Is it a revenge game?
Isn't he like 47?
Washington once?
He runs like a
Still
5.3 now. Yeah, I know he's still fast. Yeah, that's like, how is he still in the league?
All right, let's get to where the money's made. I think we're all in agreement that the wide receiver position very, very difficult, and your best bet is to have a lot of diversification across your wide receiver position, and that's where stacking comes in to play with your quarterback and double stacks and team stack, all that good shit. But let's talk about running backs, and let's go through the list. And I'm just going to kind of throw out some names here that everybody's talking about. We all know who is who here, but we got Zeke. So, Kyle, start with you, man. You comfortable playing Zeke here? We don't know how many snaps he's going to play.
I don't think he's going to make the cut for me. Yeah, I just don't like how recently he came back. I don't know how they're going to handle this situation. So he's too expensive for the unknowns, and I'm just going to have to stay away. But any given slate, he could go completely off. So I wouldn't try to talk anybody off of him.
Yeah, I feel the same. I'm a little worried about paying all the way up. How about you, Keg?
Yeah, I'm same way. I'm not touching that situation.
We're all a little worried. If I'm getting Zeke, I want massive volume, and
Yep.
I can't pay $9,200 for a
Not that
guy.
price.
If you don't get the massive volume out of this guy, he's not gonna. He doesn't need to get you 20 points. That is a disappointing game.
It is.
If he didn't get you 30 points, then you're like, fuck, I wasted my salary on him. So yeah, tricky. Now, what about Saquon? Going to Dallas has not been a great matchup for people in the past. So why do we think it's going to be different here with Saquon coming in at 24% projected ownership? Keg, I'll go to you here, man. You comfortable with Saquon Barkley here? 24% owned. I mean, he's definitely the number 1 overall pick in everybody's fantasy season-long draft.
It's not comfortable, but speaking to what you were with Zeke, is Saquon only needs 1 touch to take it to the house. I mean, he can hit his 30 with a few big plays where I think Zeke needs those touches to grind out to get that, points. So I don't love it, but I'll have some of them because he can still, he's going to be everything for that team. It's basically him, Shepard, and Ingram. So
even a bad game for Barkley last season, he would just break one at one point and get 22 points. It was
it's nuts.
He was playing really bad too.
Yep.
Yeah. Kyle, you like Saquon and the likely 10 targets he could even get in the passing game, amongst other things?
I definitely always like him. He might make my player pool, but I don't really think I'm going to target this game much. So I'd say there's a good chance he doesn't make my player pool at all, actually. And he's just too expensive for me. And if I'm going to be paying up that high, I'd rather just go with C-Mac in the game that has a 50-point total.
There it is, Christian McCaffrey. So you got to the guy who I think is certainly my consensus. I think all three of our consensus best option for paying up at running back if you choose to pay up this week. I don't think that Cam Newton is going to be doing a lot of running the football this season with all of his injuries and the shoulder stuff. What do you say there, Keg?
I don't think so either, and especially coming off that ankle injury here in preseason, especially week 1. I don't see him trying to get out and scramble too much, which makes me worry a little bit. He did look, better this preseason throwing the ball, but I do worry a little bit about him. So that again talks to that chalk Samuel, but C-Mac's going to get his work regardless. It could just filter the ball more to him and dump off. So it just makes him a better play.
I'm worried about Aqib Talib is what I'm worried about with chalk Curtis Samuel. People don't.
There's lots of
People
worries
don't
about him.
know. That motherfucker is a good corner.
He's gonna start
good.
ripping chains off. Is all he's gonna do.
Yeah. Kyle, you consensus Christian McCaffrey, the payoff guy?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's go through a couple of these names that I think are kind of GPP only guys that I might get a couple of shares of in tournaments, but I'm probably not going to be too heavy on them. David Johnson, any interest, Keg?
Oh man, that's one I've been toying back and forth, and I'll have them in my pool, but I don't think I'll have a ton of them. But I do want some of them.
Kyle, how about Le'Veon Bell for you? What do you say?
Nah, I don't think I'll have much at all of him or DJ, really. Maybe one lineup max. And if I had Bell, I think it would be because I stacked, Allen and John Brown, something like that, and I brought it back with Bell.
Something silly. I am hearing from Jets beat writers that not to really expect like a 25 touch type scenario for Le'Veon Bell. Like the Jets are still kind of thinking, he didn't play last year, and they want to kind of ease him back in, maybe spell him a little bit with Ty Montgomery over the course of that game. But I also think, like, even just looking at the salaries on FanDuel and DraftKings, for example, and Fantasy Draft, that those two guys, just three of them really, Gurley, David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, they fall in like a weird no man's land category on DraftKings. Like you could either pay all the way up for Christian McCaffrey, or these three guys kind of fall in the 7K range of like weirdness. And then you have all these great values down between 5,500 and 6,500 that it's kind of like, I don't think there's going to be anybody, and it's kind of good reason on that trio. Let me look at the FanDuel pricing, but like FanDuel's a little bit tighter. With David Johnson kind of coming in, 8K, and Bell at 7,900. They're not that much more than Cook and Chubb, who are in the mid sevens. But let's get to those. Let's get to those two. So, little chalkier guys here, right? We've gotten past Le'Veon Bell. Nick Chubb is the first one that pops out to me, and I want to speak of him. I'm going to speak on this guy a little bit. FanDuel and DraftKings very different. So Chubb is he has been a yardage and touchdowns guy. No receptions in the past. Now, one speculation from this year that we all have is that this guy is going to be involved in the passing game a little bit. Are you guys buying into that? Kyle, you buying Nick Chubb as a pass catcher, a PPR asset maybe?
Yeah, I don't see him being, like a Barkley type of guy, but I could see him getting, like 4 to 5 targets, something like that. And I'm cool with that, with as much work as he's going to get on the ground. I think he's in for a big year, and I like him a lot this week. But yeah, this is the range I'm going to be living in this week.
Yeah, I like this range a lot too. So I my brand has always been pay down at running back for better or for worse. That's just what I've always done in daily fantasy, and it's bit me in the ass at times, but it's just been an approach I've used. Keg, do you like this range a lot? And do you think, this Tennessee game, it doesn't have the highest total on the slate per se. Tennessee actually was pretty good against the run last year, but they had a very easy schedule. I think Chubb will be one of the lowest owned of this sort of grouping up here. Do you like Nick Chubb?
I like Nick Chubb for the season, but I don't like Nick Chubb in this matchup. It's not so much a matchup, I guess. It's like I love the 6K range. I think there's guys that have better avenues of getting touches and share, where this Cleveland team, man, has just got playmakers all over it. And, if it's a close game, he might not get the touches we need to outpace some of the other 6K guys around here. So I won't have a ton of them.
I like him a little more on FanDuel than DraftKings because I think his touchdown equity is probably higher than even some of these other guys that we probably like. I do think they'll hand it to Chubb by the end zone, but I think his floor is a little bit lower in the sense that, he's probably not going to be getting as many touches. And you're right, they have a lot of weapons. They love to spread it around in Cleveland. I saw a stat where, like, for multiple games, I don't even understand how it's even possible, but it was like that Baker Mayfield had like passed like 9 different people in these various games. And it was like, how many people are on a football team? Like, how the fuck did he pass to 9 different people in a single game? But yet, it shows that they were really spreading the football around quite a bit. So I do like Chubb, but I like him more on FanDuel because FanDuel is where touchdowns are king. And I do think Chubb gets into the end zone at least once this week. All right, let's talk about some other plays that I really like a lot. And, so we're getting to that middling range. And this is that range, Kyle, that you're talking about. And I'll throw a few names at you here rather than just kind of go through them one by one. But Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, Chris Carson. Now, on DraftKings, they're all kind of similar. 6,100, 6K, 5,700. Oddly, there's a massive bargain for Chris Carson on fantasy draft, so I love him there. He also rates these guys all. If you look at the DFS Army rating system, Fournette rates out with a 90 grade, Dalvin Cook 82.2, Chris Carson 91.4, which they're 3 of the highest ratings on the slate outside of Kerryon Johnson, who actually rates with a 100. But I'm ignoring it because I don't think he's going to get anything on the goal line. But do you love those 3? I mean, order them. Is this the trio that you're talking about, Kyle? Like, these the guys, or anybody else?
These are my favorite 3 backs on the slate. Well, top 4 on the slate. I'd throw C-Mac in there too, I guess. And then Chubb 5th. That's my top 5. And Cook would be first. If there's an all-in spot this week, I think it's Cook. And then I think Fournette's my second right there because I think he's in for a big workload this year as long as he's healthy in this game. I mean, they got a 24-point total. I think he's going to get a lot of work in the passing game. And Kansas City could not stop running backs last year, so I expect a big game for him. And they're so cheap that it'll allow you to pay up for, more expensive stacks. And that's what I'm looking for.
I like that. How about you, Keg? Are you going to hang in the middling range here? And I'd also like to get your thoughts on Austin Eckler chalk and kind of how you're going to deal with that situation.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you the same thing because I want to know your thoughts on Eckler because I do
have serious thoughts.
Because
right.
I mean,
for
tournaments I'll just fade him and I'll go I would go Jackson, but I can't run him in cash. I don't want to run him in cash. I like that range, like we just went through. Those are the guys to target. And again, Cook's the guy. If you were going to hit a lock button on, it'd be Cook, but there's no lock plays on this slate.
You never want to lock anybody in a week 1. Like we just
last year. I remember the same conversation we had about Connor. I think it was 4,500.
Oh yeah, such a lot. And Kamara. So yeah, you're right. The week 1 and Kamara, we were all getting cute. Like, oh, should we play Kamara or David Johnson? So I want to, I'll get off the chalk and play David Johnson. No, I remember it well. Yes. But yeah, I mean, these guys stand out so much. Cook is for people watching at home, one of the ways to figure out who the good plays are is just sort by ownership projection. The ownerships give you essentially what are the good on paper plays. So our job is to look at those, understand them, and then find a couple spots where maybe we think somebody's underowned, aka Leonard Fournette at 5%, or maybe Nick Chubb at 5% projected, that we think will do better than what I guess the field seems to think. And then on the flip side, to find some spots where somebody might be high owned and you go like, all right, throw me the question of Austin Eckler. Let me give my theory on this guy. Keg, ask me on Austin Eckler. Be like, what do you think of Austin Eckler?
So what do you think about Austin Eckler there?
Yeah, see, that took you so much prompting. I'm going to type it on the side screen next time. Damn it.
You're going on a rant, man. So I was letting you run.
Yeah, I do have a rant here. Here's a situation. All right. Number 1, Austin Eckler. I get it. Okay. I have a natural psychological urge when I find out that a running back is out this week to play his backup. I have a need for it. I have a memory, a reflex memory in my soul that says, oh, running back out, must play backup. Right? But this motherfucker is priced up like a starter. He's not being priced like, hey, we got a sneaky play on Austin Eckler for 3,200 this week. Let's go all in. He's being priced up on both FanDuel and DraftKings and Fantasy Draft. he's priced fully in, I think, beyond his role. So when I'm looking at Austin Eckler, and I know I've seen what they've done with him in the past, he doesn't get a full workload when he comes in. He's a smaller running back. He is their third down guy. Yes, he's going to start, but they'll give him, a 60-40 timeshare with that Justin Jackson guy. I don't see him getting 24 touches. I don't even see him getting 20. So here's the deal. He's going to be 17 to 25% owned. There are great plays in the exact same price range as where he's sitting. So what am I losing if I fade him in tournaments? What am I really missing out on? A 22-point game from Austin Eckler? Okay. That would suck if I faded him and that happened. But what if, I played Chris Carson and he got 22 points anyway? So what the fuck is the difference? Like, he not only has to put up a good score, he has to also outscore Mark Ingram, who is cheaper than him, and I think in probably a better spot. Why wouldn't I just play Mark Ingram? Why am I playing the chalk 20% guy who's only going to get a half share of snaps when I can get a cheaper guy or a guy of a similar price? I'm not going to say Dalvin Cook, because I think your opponent will have Austin Eckler and Dalvin Cook, but Chris Carson, Mark Ingram, all in the same price range. So my issue, and Kyle, I want to get your thoughts on it as well, but my issue, and you kind of said fade, my issue with Austin Eckler is, if he's 3,500 this week, all in. He's at home. He's starting for essentially an injured guy. But at 5,500 on DraftKings, now he's a little bit better on FanDuel. There's not as much in that range, but I could still get Chris Carson and Mark Ingram for the same price on FanDuel. And I still like both of those guys more. So tell me if I'm nuts. Tell me if I'm doing a sharp DFS play, and explain to the people, the members, why maybe they shouldn't listen to Kevin because he's a fucking nutbag.
No, I agree. I'm not even going to roster Eckler this week. I have no interest in him if he's going to be chalk. If he was going to be low owned, then sure, I'd take a couple stabs at him. But I don't see him having a big workload here. And if they do get into a big lead, I think it's going to be Jackson that's running the ball more. So, yeah, I'm really not too interested. And honestly, I'd rather play Miles Sanders at 3,900 than Eckler at 55.
Keg, you made a face for Miles Sanders. I like Miles Sanders a little bit. I mean, in a David Montgomery probably going to disappoint us kind of way. But
yeah, that's what I mean. I just don't know what they're going to do there. So I'll stay wait and see on that deal. But I mean, that guy's got talent, but I don't know what Philly's going to do.
Kyle, this is the beauty. We got to get you a camera, man. We got to get you a camera.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go buy a new laptop.
Yeah. So I guess, Keg, you feel the same way. The Austin Eckler chalk is very comfortable. I don't even feel FOMO about not playing him in cash. I'm just like, I don't give a shit. I'll play Ingram. I kind of feel like I like Mark Ingram.
Not on this week. Like, if there was other weeks where he's priced at a point where there's not better plays around him, I could maybe stomach it a little bit. But on this week, when there's so many guys around him that are better plays, that just you don't have to think about it. And if he's going to be chalk, good. I hope he disappoints, and then you can get ahead of your guys in cash and in tournaments.
Yeah, and I think people are also forgetting that the Colts had a pretty good defense across the board last year. Like,
they really did.
They fucking stifled Zeke Elliott when
and
the
I think
Cowboys
that just kind of turns to the point that I could see the Chargers throw a little bit more. So maybe like Rivers and some of the pass catchers, and when we get the tight end, it's going to be a chalk tight end that he's going to throw the ball to. So
love Hunter Henry here. Love Hunter Henry. All right, let's get to tight ends then, because we've gone through the running back position. And I think it's funny. I think we're all in agreement. It's a little scary, but we're all in agreement of the grouping that we like, which is a little crazy. We have like no disagreement going on here almost whatsoever. So that's a little bananas. All right, let's move on to the tight end. We talked about wide receivers already, right? So let's move on to the wide receiver, the tight end position. And we'll start at the top. Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Zacharias Ertz, with Kelce projected for 20% ownership, Kittle and Ertz right around 10. So I'll start with you, Keg. How important is ownership to you at the tight end position? How much of it are you really just looking to fade? And at the top here, are you going to eat that chalk with Kelce, or try to take your shots with Kittle or Ertz when you're paying up?
I never look at ownership at tight end because there's usually like only 3 or 4 that I want to play. And then it all comes to just lineup construction. It's going to dictate where I go on other things. So there's only really 3 to 4 tight ends that I do want to play that have upside. And then it comes to Henry. I'm torn between him and Ingram. Who I want to go to.
Henry's a little cheaper on DraftKings.
He is.
On FanDuel.
Yeah, I should specify that on DraftKings.
Yeah.
On FanDuel.
About the same.
They're about the same, so it's a little easier. I would just rather go to Ingram on FanDuel, but on DraftKings you do save about $1,000.
Kyle, am I being influenced by a coach's blurb that said we're gonna like pepper Ingram with targets, and like I'm listening to it and like believing it like a fucking sucker? It's making me want to play Evan Ingram a little bit.
No, I mean, I think they're going to have to target him a lot. I think he's probably the best receiver on the team other than Barkley. So I'm not against it. But last year, what cost me the most was just paying down at tight end. I took too many weeks with, like 3 points from Njoku or something like that. And it cost me big. So this year, I'm going to make it a point to pay up more for tight end. So my top guys are going to be Kelsey, number 1, just because I'm going to have so many game stacks. He's going to end up as the main guy from San Francisco for me. And then I like
– You meant Kittle. You meant Kittle there.
Kittle, my bad. Yeah, Kittle. And then I like Kelsey, though, as a mini game stack with my Fournette shares. So those are going to be the top 2 for me. I like Ertz paired with Wentz, but I would rather have those other 2. And then if I'm going to pay down – yeah, I'd rather have Henry, I think, for cheaper at $3,700.
Gotta save the money if you're gonna pay down. The one thing you'll find though is when you do pay up a tight end and that guy doesn't come through, you're pretty much toast. I mean, like that is a lineup killer like nothing else. But it works on a week like this when we have 3 or 4 5 really middling priced running backs to choose from, to where we don't really, there are some weeks where we're going to want to get McCaffrey and Zeke in the lineup together, and then it's like, fuck it, I'm paying down. This week I'm like, okay with, all right, I'm paying a little down at running back, so I can take a luxury at the tight end position. What do you say about that, Kagan? And are you paying up a tight end in your cash approach this week?
I'm going Ingram. I'm going to sell Ingram some more because I ain't doing a good job of it apparently. So last year against Dallas, he had 7 for 67, a touchdown, 7 targets. And then the last game, he went 5 for 81 and a touchdown on 8 targets. I think he's going to see similar. I'm not saying he's going to get a touchdown, but I think he's going to see similar 8 to 10 targets here. And I just feel like they're going to have to throw to him, where I just worry more about Chalk Henry, where, again, I think he's okay. He's going to be chalky. I just think Ingram's going to outscore him, and I'll just take that. So I'm probably just going to plant my flag there, and that's who I'm going with.
I like it. All right, so I'm going to just talk. I agree with a lot of this. I have not much more to add other than, at the top end, again, I'm not – yeah, Kittle, Kelsey, Ertz, all good with me. Not complaining with any one of these guys. Coming down, O.J. Howard is a name that is bandied about a lot, but 49ers are pretty good against tight ends, so I think I'll get some Howard exposure in my Winston stacks, just because, but only in those. Not going to be looking at Howard as a standalone piece. More of a, hey, I've got to mix him in on those game stacks with that specific game. Love Evan Ingram. The one guy I'm going to mention, I have a few other GPP only types here, but the one guy I'm going to mention is Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen interests me. If he's healthy for 3,200, and again, I talked about before, the Rams have elite cornerback play. Elite. Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters. They're good. Marcus Peters ain't that good, but they have another guy too, and I can't recall his name, so I keep saying Marcus Peters because those are the 2 names I remember. But he's good, right? So what happens when elite corners are taking out the chalk Curtis Samuel that everybody in your tournament lineup has, right? And they're all getting wiped out because Aqib Talib is completely shutting him down. What happens? They go to Greg Olsen, the old man and the foot, okay? His foot's healthy for 1 game. He comes back, has a big game, 2% owned. Everybody busts with Curtis Samuel. Geek wins $1 million. Shut down DFS Army. It's been nice knowing you guys.
Oh, no.
No shutdown.
No.
All right. Did I have $1 million? Can I take a week off? Like, what can I do if it happens?
You take a day off. Only
day. Tuesday. Can I have Tuesday?
You have Tuesday off. That's the day off.
All right. Tuesday.
All right.
Tuesday, I'll take off. All right, let's move on to the defense position. Kyle, would you take a Tuesday off or like a week?
During NFL season, I'm just taking a Tuesday.
Kyle would 100% call whoever his boss is in his non-DFS world and be like, bro, take this job and stick it up your ass. Okay? I'm done with you. Lose my number. I'm not going to be using you as a reference.
Well, I'd do it 2 weeks, just because I'm a good guy. But yeah, immediately.
You are such a good guy.
And then I would take PTO for that 2 weeks.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Right.
All right, let's go on to the team defense, the most difficult position to predict. Now, I'm looking at something that's surprising me here on our ownership projections, and now I want to check this against other ownership projections because it seems really low. Eagles, 4%? Seems low. You like the Eagles this week, Keg?
I do. And if they're 4%, yeah, I want some of that.
Kind of weird, man. That was like the defense that stood out the most to me.
That seems pretty
like, am I tripping? What the hell?
I mean, it's defense. I think we all know what the chalk's probably going to be.
Everybody's on the Ravens, right? We don't want to pay up for the Ravens.
That's the chalk, but I mean, I guess with luck out, the Chargers are sitting there, and maybe they're just spreading the ownership out because there is. I don't know, Eagles are 3.6. Maybe it's because everybody's going to Ravens on DraftKings.
I mean, it's a pay up. So maybe if you're going to pay up, you might as well go to the Ravens.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. It's interesting.
But, yeah, I still have no problem with the Eagles.
I'm going to actually look at the Dom station because now I want to see all of these ownerships to see if there's any sort of other high owned defenses or if it's just one of those weeks where no one's high owned. So, all right, I'm going to sort by projected ownership. All right. So, interesting. Okay. Interesting, but also not that interesting. After the Ravens at 12%, it's just like everybody's 5 or 6%. And it's actually not, there's nothing standing out here. Yeah. I actually like the Chiefs, and they're one of the lowest owned defenses on the entire slate.
Like the Chiefs, huh?
Yeah, it's not that I love them, but I mean, like, no one's going to be playing them. It's a high projected game, and why not? I mean, if the Jaguars have to throw a lot to keep up with the Chiefs, if the Chiefs are scoring, even if the Jags are scoring, they can turn it over. Jaguars last year were turnover machines. I mean, it's a new offense, but I don't know. Who do you like on defense, Kyle?
My top defense is Seattle. I like stacking them up with Carson and just planning on them having that 10-point lead and giving him the ball the whole fourth quarter. So that's going to be my main defense. I like Cleveland a good bit as well. And then I like that Baltimore-Miami game on both sides, more so Baltimore, of course. But if I have to pay down super low, then I'm cool with doing Miami too because I don't trust Jackson to not make too many mistakes when he's throwing the ball. So I could see an interception returned or, even a kick return, something like that from Miami where we don't really need a whole lot if we're paying 2K or 2.1K. So that's my pay down defense. But give me all the Seattle I can afford.
I like that call. Bengals, the DFS Army grade for Seattle defense in this game is 100.
Yeah.
That's the highest grade we get.
I mean, we haven't talked about defense. I think we should have a little bit of Cowboys defense if Eli Manning's still going to be on the field. You better have some Cowboys defense.
Yeah. I think we can all agree.
And the Chargers with Brissett out there.
You know what else is popping? And I think this one is popping a little bit, obviously, from last year. But I'm going to throw a couple more names. Listen, one of the things I like to do is I sort by DFS Army grade. The grading system that we have is very, very good. It takes a lot of important things into account. The number one grade defense that we have, and they're cheap, are the Lions. Grade 100. Now, their grade is based on the terrible that was Arizona last season. So it's a little bit tricky to extrapolate a completely new team, new quarterback, new everything. But they are rolling out a rookie quarterback, and everybody's excited to play, the rookie quarterback week 1, and let's see what he can do. Well, let's see what he can do. What if what he does is throw a bunch of fucking interceptions because he's got jitters in his first game? Kyle, UFC jitters, is it a real thing?
Yeah, definitely.
Ring jitters, right? New fighter in the UFC. What happens? They lose 70% of the time because they're
used
nervous.
to 50 people watching you, and then it's a million people that'll get to you.
Now, in fairness, Kyler Murray was probably playing in front of like millions of people in college too.
True, just in general, but mostly for UFC. I'm talking about. He's
I know.
He's probably going to be all right.
Yeah, but Seattle grades is our second highest ranking, and my New York Jets, the third highest ranked defense on the slate. And I will remind you guys that that Josh Allen is an inefficient quarterback with terrible accuracy. He'll throw bombs, and I believe he can complete some of those bombs to John Brown, which is why I love the John Brown play as a tournament play, because that guy needs to catch 2 bombs over the course of the game. He's going to get you 18, 22 points. No big deal. But that doesn't stop the Jets defense from sacking him, ripping the football out of his hand, and then running it into the end zone for a defensive touchdown. Why not?
I like it.
Yeah. So I'd say I had a little Chiefs, Eagles. So I want to stick with this group, Browns, Chiefs, all of the names that come up like high on the rankings on the grade system for us. There's about 6 or 7 of them. So, man, this is so easy. You just sort by DFS Army grades on a lot of these position groups on the Dom station. You don't even have to think that much, man. They just pop right out at you. It's crazy. Like when you watch it, you're like, fuck yeah, I like these guys. So it's really interesting how that works out. But guys, this is it. Week 1.
That's right.
Fucking months in the making. So much work has gone into prep.
Week 1.
Can't wait. Any final words, Keg? What are your words of encouragement? Give me some inspiration.
I don't give inspiration. That's
right. No inspiration.
So I got final words, but you do the inspiration part. One thing we didn't touch on is we're talking about contest selection and stuff. Don't forget about Yahoo, because they got $1 million prize pool. It's not even half full yet. It's $25 entry, 10 max, the 100K up top. And we are going to have a sheet for that. And it's a good tournament to get into. You don't have to have 150 and you have best shot with everybody else. And there's no management fee. Zero rake on that.
That will not continue all through the season. They do a week 1 special that way.
Yeah, so I'm jump in this thing because there's probably going to be overlay. So it's not even half full. And so I will be getting in that one as well. The other thing is Monday. There's 2 Monday Night Football games. And you're going to be all over that.
Got a full slate of 2 games on Monday. So it becomes like it's not like a showdown. It's a 2-game slate, which is I love 2-game slates. That's like, I love that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle, are you competing in the DFS championships this year that myself and Brett Apley have put together?
Not yet. I've just been too damn busy. How long is that? Right. When do I have to?
We decided to start at week 2 because we figured let everybody get their sea legs under them on DraftKings week 1. So it starts week 2. And the format of the contest is exactly the same as the one we did for MMA, where you were part of it, where it's 3 weeks, 3 weeks in a big combined contest. Everybody's scores get tabulated on a leaderboard. After 3 weeks, the top 50% of cumulative scorers will move on to round 2. That's a group stage. Again, there'll be groups of 4, 8, 10, depending on how many people enter it. That will be a 3-week period. Lots of social media engagement. The winners, the top half of the group stage, so every group will be 10 people, let's say, and the top 5 cumulative scores after 3 weeks will move on. The top scorer will get some money and we'll move on. We'll get a bye week. Then we go to a big March Madness style bracket challenge, head-to-heads, completely seeded based on total scores. Again, a lot of shit talking, a lot of social media, and that bracket will slowly whittle its way down to a grand champion, hopefully in week 16.
Do we know what the prize pool's up to?
Right now it's still getting started. So the goal is for each of the contests, a $25,000 prize pool, with first place being something in the range of $3,000 or so, plus an awesome championship belt.
Yeah, sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
What I
probably
like-
get in there.
What I love about it, and Keg, this ties into something you and I are doing. What I love about it is it kind of forces you every single week to really think hard about your cash game lineup, because you're entering a cash game lineup in that. Unless you lose the first couple of weeks, then you got to go, all right, fuck it, I gotta make up some ground, and you go tournament. But I really like that it forces you to think about your cash game approach.
Yep.
Keg, you getting in that thing, man?
Oh, I'm already in it, brother.
Oh,
That's
yes.
my belt, man. So
Hell yeah. I'm in both of
pretty
them.
much
There's
gonna put that
a
in.
$50 entry one and a $150 entry one. I'm in both because I like that. I
Oh,
think
I'm
to
in
me, like I play so many contests for $50, $150, and it's over in a couple of minutes. This one, it's over in three, in a few hours. This one lasts the whole football season, and it's a nice prize at
It's
the end.
great. It's fantastic. I mean,
I
that's
definitely want to try to win it.
fantastic.
So yeah, guys, we've been posting that link, dfschampionships.com, and I think Chris has a Yahoo sheet this week out on our site. So a little bit of salaries and projections and values on Yahoo. So for people who want to get in that contest, we have a sheet for it. And yeah, let's just crush it this week. I'll be back for anybody listening. I'm still going to do another mass multi-entry type sort of tutorial, but really live time, kind of showing you guys how I'm setting up the Dom station for my lineups this week, and the Players Club tomorrow, and all that good stuff. So we still have a lot more coming. Kyle got his sheets out, coach's notes, tiers, afternoon or early game. Keck got all the sheets going. FanDuel, DraftKings, Fantasy
I'll be
Draft.
done
So,
tonight before I go to bed.
yeah, and we get that done and get some rest, man. We got a big weekend ahead. So good luck, guys. Thanks for doing this.
I mean,
Good luck.
All right, deuces. That's right.